Hello there, everyone. In the previous videos, I already talked about the importance of, assessing your work and getting critiques maybe from your friends or relatives. But as I was saying, I will be offering critiques of my own. The price will be 10 euros for these course projects per critique. I will do them via email. And here are some instructions on how you can do the photographing of your artwork in order to get the best results from a critique. So for now, I will offer only for courses. Maybe in the future, I will also enable for personal projects. But for now, the priority is course projects only. So when you take a picture of a project, place your camera. I recommend you use your phone. Place it more or less, in the middle of the project, especially when you're working with the side size. So there's no distortion on the image itself. And also try to make sure, it's vertical, not tilting one way too much, otherwise it'll distort, as you can see. So it's best to have it, pretty vertical. Of course, when you're working side size like this, they both tilt the same amount, so I will be able to give you some drawing advice regardless of if it's tilted, but it'll be easier to see. So on this picture here, I will actually start editing. I also record my screen so you can see what I'm doing here. So basically, I start off by, assessing the project. Is it looking the same as my image over there? So that is, of course, something we need to first take into account. Now, my phone camera is pretty all right. It seems to capture it okay, but it might not be the case for everyone. So what I recommend you do is first to check the brightness. Well, my phone is in Finnish, so you'll just have to bear with me there. But you can check the brightness, is your project looking brighter or darker than the actual image you're seeing here in real life. And you'll try to match that brightness. And when that's all right, you'll maybe want to see if, after the overall brightness, are the shadows on the cast or the drawing, the reference, are they looking a bit darker on the photo, or are they also all right? So there's usually on these phone editors, there's an option to lift the shadows. So you can make those shadows a bit brighter or make them darker. And many times when you expose for the lights, the shadows will be slightly darker than they need to be. So you can try to match that also on your project. So you can compare like this and see if it's actually correct or not. When you think it's correct, it should be close enough to give a critique. And at that point, don't mess with it too much. So I don't get the wrong idea of how the project is going, Try to make it just as exactly the same as what you're actually seeing. Now, let's pick something with color, just a study. Here, for example, you can take a picture of this, but the colors will change. So for projects with color, like the paintings of the cast and everything, it's not going to be really possible for you to take a perfectly accurate picture. But what we can do is we can criticize the transitions of the colors, the overall sort of temperature. We can also, of course, correct the shapes and values and all that kind of stuff, the edges. So there's a bunch we can still do on color projects, regardless of not being able to maybe replicate the colors exactly with your phone camera. Of course, if you have a color checker, I have the Spider Checker 24, which I can use with Lightroom. It's a good idea to get one because that way you can then also photograph your finished paintings. It's not a great idea to take a phone picture of your painting and you're gonna try to sell it that way. At least take a good picture, and for that you might need the color correction. Color correction meaning, your whole painting won't look orange or green or something like this, because there are sort of these tints that happen when you take pictures with a camera, even the digital ones, even the professional ones, they all sort of lean one way or the other. One example is when you have a portrait, as I was talking about in the general advice video, you might lose a lot of the nuances of the tones you painstakingly put in there. You painted those nice half-tone colors and you painted those subtle pinks and all these kind of accents, and then you take a picture and it's all kind of an average orangey flesh tone. So that doesn't feel too great to see, You can only just tell people that it looks better in real life, and that's all you can do. Or you could just take a really good photo. So that's what I recommend. But for these critiques, it's not necessary, of course. First, we're going to be working with graphite and charcoal for a couple projects, and after that we work with monochromatic oil paint. So that means, of course, that we don't have to color correct that either, and only finally in the color stage the colors will really matter. So if you're going to take critiques and you really want me to assess the color, you'll just have to go through the hoops and figure out the color correction. You'll need to be able to take raw images. Many phone cameras do that these days. It's in the advanced settings. You can then, nudge into any direction without losing any information in the image. It's a bit technical, of course. I'm not requiring anyone to sort of get really into photography or image editing in order to take critiques. That's why I recommend you just use your phone camera, but do make those adjustments to match at least the values, and the contrast maybe being kind of important, because I can't critique something that I cannot see, or if the image looks super contrasty, everything is black or white, then I'm only going to be able to comment on that pretty much. So try to make it as good as possible. For any projects that are not site size, take a good picture of your subject as well as your setup. You're working from live, try to match the angle you're looking from exactly, so you can give me the idea of what you're actually seeing, and then send both of those images so I can compare, of course, and see what's going on. So the way I will do these critiques is I will pick that photo and then I will edit some small things on top, highlight this edge, that, corner of a shape. And I will tell you, okay, work on this edge. Maybe the outline is not correct. It's slanted to the left and it should be, vertical or something like this. You should soften this edge over here. Pay attention to the values here, darken this shadow, stuff like this we're gonna be looking at. So usually people take critiques 2 times per morning and afternoon session in these schools you attend in person, in these Atelier schools, for example, at Angel. At least to my knowledge, 2 critiques is usually the kind of standard, because you have to also work on your project in the meantime. Doesn't really help to have attention every 5 minutes if you don't have the time to change those things. So usually it's 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. Now I'm not expecting anyone to take 4 critiques per day from me. So, I'm only expecting you maybe take, 1 to 3 per project. You can do, of course, more if you feel the need for that. But also this course is about self-education, not so much me teaching you, step by step and critiquing you all the way. Should you like that, of course, feel free to get as many as you need, because, the goal is to make you a better draftsman and painter by the end. So the way this goes is I have a store page for this critique. You can buy it for 10 euros. You will get this confirmation email once you buy that. And then along with the confirmation email, you can forward me that confirmation, as well as the pictures you took and maybe a couple of words on how it's going. Struggled a little bit with this, or it's going nicely, I think. How can I fix this and push it forward? Or I would like to really make this nice. How can I do that? Things like that. You can let me know a little bit about how you're doing in the project and, maybe what your goal for the project is. And after this, I will take your images, of course, compare them. I will then edit some highlights or arrows, something like this, in order to show you which parts I mean. They will be color coded or number coded, so you know where I'm pointing at with certain parts of the critique. I could say this yellow highlight, you should soften this edge a little bit. Or, this red highlight area, this shadow needs to be a little bit darker. Stuff like that. Simple things. And maybe some overall comments as well. Yeah, so I hope you enjoy the course. I hope someone out there actually starts working on these projects, and I'm not doing this for nothing, but you can also watch them for entertainment if you are like me and enjoy this kind of process videos. So all right, I guess that's it for now. Thank you.